they weren't wrong. The following year saw the release of International Superstar Soccer Pro, and this time it would be glorious. Hyped as the best soccer game available, it made a huge leap in both gameplay and visuals from its goal-storm predecessor. The avatars now had faces and more realistic animations. Apparent is Konami's attention to detail, as within the throng of mainly generic players, it's possible to make out the bushy hair of Carlos Valderrama, the silver shades of Fabrizio Ravanelli, and even David Seaman's moustache. Also, the ability to play a through pass was added, greatly increasing the creative possibilities open to the user and exemplifying Konami's ethos of innovation. As is visible in the reviews, the game was critically lauded, and excitement was high for the next version. This was ISS Pro 98. It was released in the aftermath of the World Cup of the same year. Some would say to capitalise on the hype generated by the tournament, but others might suggest that this was the first indication that Konami played to its own tune, and were notoriously slack with timescales. To back this up, the game was released in a seemingly incomplete state, as it didn't have the actual updated kits. However, it was the first time they used cover stars, and Fabrizio Ravanelli and Paul Ince proved a hit. The game was a critical success, with one reviewer saying, "It's so much fun, you won't want to bother with the real thing." In 1999, Konami would bring out the genre-defining ISS Pro Evolution. Whilst its three predecessors may have been tweaks of a winning concept, ISS Pro Evolution was a greater developmental leap. Not only were the graphics improved the game, but further controls were added. The shot feint was implemented, allowing users to dummy a shot and put defenders off balance before sliding a pass or changing direction. Again, this added greatly to the experience by giving the user more ways to express their personality on the pitch. The previous games had been designed for 1 or 2 players, but ISS Pro Evolution was multi-tap compatible, which meant up to 4 friends could play on the same console at once. This led to much enjoyment and only a few broken controllers. The game also permitted goals to be saved onto memory cards so a player could show them off to their friends. A concept which was ahead of its time if we consider it in the context of what many streamers do now. Konami also added the Master League. This was a feature by which a player could take control of a made-up team of players and try to lead them to glory, and would become a staple of the PES community for years to come. In line with this was the edit feature. PES had mostly used fake names for players as a way around the lack of actual licenses. Players would get alternative names. George Best would become George Beast. Maradona would be Redonda, for example. This edit mode allowed users to add the correct names of the players, teams and stadiums, and was the genesis of the PES editing community. ISS Pro Evolution would be critically acclaimed by most, but not all, and would be named in the book Top 1001 Video Games You Must Play Before You Die, published in 2010. ISS Pro Evolution 2 would follow 18 months later, and was back to the mould of refinement rather than sweeping changes, as seen in the previous iterations. Again, the graphics were improved, with minor tweaks to gameplay, but its defining feature was the development of the Master League. Now there were 2 divisions, giving the user a greater challenge. Oh, and of course, the Master League defaults debuted. To the uninitiated, the Master League defaults were a poorer collection of made-up players that everyone started with, no matter which team was chosen. These players were a misfit collection of low-quality footballers, but came to be greatly loved. It is with great fondness that many speak of Mananda, Yuga, and of course Gastolo. They had such a cult following that even today, 2 decades later, you can still buy a t-shirt or a mug or a calendar with their faces adorning it. This really goes to show the depth of feeling people had for these inglorious heroes. ISS Pro Evolution 2 was another smash hit, lauded by the critics and winner of the best sports game at the BAFTAs in 2001. It also took second place in the official PlayStation Magazine's top 10 of all time on the PS1, sitting behind Metal Gear Solid, another of Konami's stellar titles. Both Konami and PES were flying. Sony were too, as the next generation of consoles arrived, namely the best-selling and slightly unimaginably titled PlayStation 2.